Hey, what's going on, you guys? Your boy Chaim Samuels here. And here's a question. Why don't I hate Charli D'Amelio? I mean, I feel like I should. A something teen coasting mostly off of her good looks, getting big off an app I absolutely despise, reaching fame way beyond her abilities or talents. I mean, this is a recipe for a perfectly cooked steak of absolute hatred, and yet, what I mostly feel towards her is and that's a compliment with how I mostly feel about these TikTokers or Instagrammers, and I don't think I'm alone on this. Somebody like Charli D'Amelio is usually a feeding ground for YouTubers with similar channels like mine, but it doesn't seem like most of the content creators I know are really critiquing her. Even the ones that have critiqued her, it's mostly ended up backfiring and made them look kind of stupid. I mean, this question has not only perplexed me, but it's absolutely engulfed me. I mean, I can't sleep anymore. I can't eat. I gotta figure out why this is. So I thought, in order to figure this out, I should probably contrast her with another content creator, Lele Pons. I mean, somebody who's just been a punching bag for the last couple of years. And, you know, I'm a little bit annoyed because when I started YouTube, I started it like right after it kind of felt old to go after Lele Pons, and I had some stuff to say. I mean, I didn't just want to make fun of her or talk about her content, but I actually wanted to critique this individual because I thought this was fascinating that somebody like her can be putting out content. I thought this would just be a perfect opportunity to talk about her. So without further ado, guys, let's break this down, shall we? Lele Pons got a big break off of the app Vine. Now, already from the beginning, this is kind of interesting because Vine is a very specific app. It was 15-second videos, and it was a very specific type of comedy for a very specific type of audience. It was, you either kind of liked it or you didn't like it. I liked some of Vine, but it was a very specific type of comedy. Somebody like Lele Pons, if you actually look at a lot of her Vines, what she was mostly famous for was slapstick. So on top of already an app that was very niche and it was a very specific type of comedy, she did slapstick. So already off the bat, it was pretty self-evident that her comedic talents weren't very strong. I bring this up because if you look at Hollywood or movies, no matter if you think a movie is really bad, most people can look at a movie and say, okay, objectively, there's a lot of talent that's put into this. It's something that I couldn't do. And that's because there's a standard to Hollywood. Hollywood is in such high demand for talent that you have to be extremely good to even be on the bottom tier of Hollywood. You have to put years into bettering your craft. On top of that, you also have to be very talented to begin with. There's a certain standard. This also applies to comedy. Most people start at what's called open mics. Most people aren't very good, myself included. When I started doing open mics, I was really bad. And the only way that you can become successful is if you get so good that people will want to pay you. But that's only through working really hard and getting better at something that you probably already have an innate talent to. But once in a while, there's an outlier. Somebody who comes in and decides he's going to do it his way. Somebody who hasn't gone through all the regular channels in order to succeed. Somebody like a Kevin Smith or Robert Rodriguez who actually decided they were going to film their own film. And because they were talented enough, it worked out. But once in a while, you have somebody who comes along who doesn't have any talent for this, doesn't even know the basic ideas of how to film something, and then we get,
I did not hit her. It's not true. It's bullshit. I did not hit her. I did not. Oh, hi, Mark.
something that's so beyond anything that we're used to seeing in Hollywood that even the bad things look like masterpieces compared to something like The Room with Tommy Wiseau, where he doesn't even have the basic ideas of how to form a screenplay or film something. I bring this up because YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, all of these apps have allowed for what I call the Tommy Wiseau effect. Have people come in who aren't very talented, who don't even have the basic ideas of how to do certain things and yet are rising to fame. Going back to with Vine, Vine created a lot of stars, and some of them I think were really talented where they were able to go over to platforms like YouTube and have success and actually be really funny because they were already pretty talented to begin with. Somebody like a Drew Gooden or Danny Gonzalez, they were already very funny to begin with, and so they were able to make that leap. Where most people that aren't very talented kind of realize this and realize that they have to work extremely hard in order to get better. Lele Pons didn't need to do this because of apps like Vine and TikTok and Instagram, where the criteria is not necessarily talent. It's more these specific criterias of why people would want to watch you on these apps, like good looks and just good marketing skills. Things that have nothing to do with actually talent, where in most industries would mostly not make it. Lele Pons already had a built-in audience, and it allowed her to go out and create content way beyond her abilities and still reach a level of fame. She didn't need to work hard in order to get better at something she wasn't very good at. She already had a platform and an audience, mostly of young kids who were going to watch her stuff anyways. And that's where we get her sketches. I mean, her sketches are not only bad, but they're missing even the basic ideas of how to structure a sketch, of how to write comedy, of how to write jokes. It's the reason why her sketches don't come out as sketches. They come out as 7-minute clips from a movie that doesn't exist. They're kind of these really long, unstructured things with no punchline, because she's never had to learn or never had to work in order to improve. She's never had to put herself in a position where she had to learn these things, because she already had a built-in audience from a platform that didn't require her to do these things. I mean, just look at one of her sketches. I hate homework.
Okay, class, these are the 3 last questions of the day. Number 1, what is the largest man-made source of greenhouse gases?
Industry! Clouds!
Excellent. Most of you. Which type of ray is harmful, and on which side of the spectrum?
Who cares? Gamma!
What side?
Right. The right side. The left?
No.
A sketch is, for the most part, I think, supposed to have a kind of a running joke that pulls the whole thing together. We're 20-30 seconds in already, and there's no sense of what this is supposed to be about. What Laylee Pons is relying on is her personality, because she doesn't know how to write. And I've seen this with a lot of different Instagrammers and TikTokers, is she doesn't know how to write, but she thinks she's funny enough in her personality where she thinks she can totally just rely on her personality and then create some type of scenario around her. That usually comes from people who don't have a lot of experience, but yet think they're really funny. People do this when they first start stand-up comedy. I do this too, where you think you're funny enough that you don't need to write a joke. You kind of could just write something and make it funny off of your personality, and you learn very, very quickly that that's not the case. Even your favorite comedians, they write jokes, because it's not just enough to rely on your personality. You need to have something funny to say, and unfortunately someone like Laylee Pons never realized this, because she didn't have to be put in a position where she needed to realize this.
Okay, so the exosphere is hot.
Cold.
Lele, the exosphere is hot.
Cold.
No, it's hot. Hot.
It's cold.
I mean, this is not a joke. I mean, her saying hot, then saying cold, I mean, this wouldn't make sense for anybody to do, but with Laylee Pons, again, because she doesn't know how to write a comedic sketch, because she never was required, she thinks she could just say something weird and it'll come off really funny because it's coming from her. And you see this throughout the sketch. There's no punchline, there's no really plot. It's just her doing a bunch of stuff about homework. I mean, she's bad, so she goes to a bunch of friends and they don't like her. She's writing it as if it's a movie, but we don't know anything about this character in the sketch, so all these scenarios don't make sense, because this isn't a movie, it's a sketch. There's no full 1.5 hour for us to learn about her, and there's no plot, so her friends not liking her doesn't make any sense, because we don't know this character. And so the ending is that her teacher scolds her, and she ends up stealing the homework and throws it up in the air, and that's the end of the sketch. I mean, it's just so incoherent. And this is something I want to touch on that I talk about a lot. It's self-awareness. These apps allow people that don't really have any particular talents to get big, and because they have this fan base, it allows them to go off and do things that in any other industry where you need to be incredibly talented in order to live up to the standard, with these creators, they don't need to do that. So getting back to my original point, now let's contrast that with Charli D'Amelio. Charli D'Amelio got big off of TikTok. Again, an app I really don't like, but she got big off of dancing, and she's a pretty good dancer. I mean, she even talks about from a little kid. That's really what she wanted to do. So I can't fault somebody like Charli D'Amelio for getting big off of something she's actually pretty good at. I think most people would agree that she's pretty good at dancing, and that's what she wants to do. Even though she's 15 or 16 years old, she's already way more self-aware than a lot of these other content creators. She goes to Gary Vee and asks for his advice. That's pretty impressive. I don't think any of these other content creators would go and ask Gary Vee, and I think it's because they're not willing to admit that they might be bad at something. They just want to go out and pretend as if they're amazing at everything and not try to really be self-aware and realize what their limitations are. And yeah, I think it all circles around to Charli D'Amelio just seems like a more genuine, self-aware person, and she's not trying to do anything beyond what she thinks her abilities and talents are. And that just, for me at least, I think just makes her a lot more likable and relatable. So, I don't know, that's my thoughts, guys. Thanks so much for watching, really appreciate it. If you like this content, make sure to go hit that subscribe button. Really would love and appreciate you for hitting that subscribe button. Thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of your day, guys.